Good morning, everybody. This is Grant from State of the Spark. How are you doing today? It is a lovely, lovely Monday morning, and we've got a show for you today. We're going to be talking about how to revive passion action. That's how do we revive the ability inside of you to take action in a passionate way today, right now. So we're going to be covering that. We're going to be covering the cause of global depression and what is causing global depression, and what is the one thing I believe you could do right now to overcome global depression and to become an agent of change in other people's lives so that you can help them to overcome global depression. We're going to be covering that. We're going to be covering Project Forestami in Italy, which is a beautiful project happening to fight back forestation. But before all of that, you know what we're going to do. We're going to be covering Morning Cup of Gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? What got you out of bed? What's getting you out of bed? What's getting you to show up for work? Getting you to show up for your people? Getting you to show up for yourself in the areas of health and fitness? Getting ready to show up for yourself and for the people around you in relationships and the work you love and in your spirituality? Yes, that's the total life experience. What got you out of bed? What are you grateful for this morning? I'll start. I am super grateful this morning for my health and fitness journey. I got to be honest. This is a big thing for me right now. I've made a lot of progress in my health and fitness. And if you're ever feeling, and we're going to be touching on this a little bit, if you're ever feeling a little bummed, if you're ever feeling lost, you don't know what you're working towards, life feels like the mundane is taking over, which is what we're talking about today, the cause of global depression. A lot of people are feeling this way. And I personally do believe a lot of people are feeling this now more than they have in the past. So what do? Well, when I'm feeling lost, I don't deal with too much depression. When I deal with depression, it is severe, but it's not often. But when I feel a little lost, I go back to health and fitness, and my health and fitness journey has been phenomenal. And so I'm super grateful for that. I'm super grateful for the Spark Sites team. I'm super grateful for my team, the gentleman I do the show, Not Crypto Bros with. Check it out Tuesday afternoons at 3:30, Saturday mornings at 6:30 a.m. And I'm just super grateful for where we're going with our course. We're actually working on several courses for Spark Sites, the SEO course so that your site ranks more. For the Not Crypto Bros, a podcasting course, how to do podcasting, that's coming out. And then for Spark Sites, we're doing a financial freedom, a global, the world's largest, biggest impact course for financial freedom, which should be applicable to anywhere in the world. We're working with several people from around the globe to build this course. I'm grateful for all of that. What are you grateful for? What's getting you out of bed? What's the cause for you to try to think about getting your health and fitness put together? Maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your mission. Maybe it's just your sense that I need something more in the world. Whatever it is, I pray that it goes well for you today. That's what I'm grateful for. Let's talk about other news. In other news, the world's oldest star catalog was discovered. Yes, overwritten in the Dark Ages, and how apropos to what actually typically happens with wisdom. So symbolically and actually, the world's oldest star catalog was overwritten in the Middle Ages by religious texts. Let's talk about this real quick. Called the Codex Climaci Rescriptus. The Codex Climaci Rescriptus, written or overwritten in the Middle Ages. It covered mostly Christian, Palestinian, Aramaic sections of the Bible. And it's been like that on this animal skin parchment, which can last for hundreds, if not thousands of years, thousands as we've discovered lately. And so they wrote out sections of the Bible roughly in the Middle Ages, roughly in the 1500s, to capture them for all of time. Now, paper was hard to come by, and scripts and different parchments was hard to come by. So if they took animal skins in a very laborious process, and it lasted for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and they had something new, something fresh that they wanted to communicate, they had to make the decision of, do I overwrite this old copy? Is it relevant to us today? Well, in the 1500s, they decided that these Bible passages, which were very important at the day, was more important than the content written on this parchment. The parchment was scraped, and it was lost to time. The only reason we even know that it existed at one point is Ptolemy wrote about it about 500 or 600 years after the original author. So what happened? hundreds of years later, and the mission of the content from the 1500s starts to fall out of favor, and no one really cares about it that much anymore, but it is in the Museum of the Bible. Well, technologists have come out with new spectral imaging, and we have known that there have been hidden texts for many years, but we haven't had the technology to read it. These technologists got a hold of a manuscript of the Codex Climaci Receptus, and they actually projected different wavelengths on the script and found the right one that reflected off of the original ink. And lo and behold, underneath it, they found Hipparchus's star catalog, which is the oldest known star catalog in all of history, going back to 135 BCE. So that's over 2,300 years ago or more. A Greek astronomer had already begun mapping the stars and cataloging. In fact, the oldest one known in history. Now, if you think about this, to get to this point, people in the medieval ages, as I've described, chose to write new important content to them and scrape away, literally with a sharp knife, they scrape away the old knowledge. What's the point of this story? It's a lesson. And that ancient wisdom is already all around us, and it is quite often lost to time, but not just time. It's lost to what we think is the most important, relevant thing of today. Now, you don't want to poo-poo on that which is the most important thing of today. That's why it's relevant today. Whether it's fitness or the economy or the war in Ukraine or being an influencer or not being an influencer or living in a house or living in a tiny home, whatever the topic is that's coming at you that is overwhelming, but it still seems relevant, ask yourself, what ancient wisdom is being hidden by the conversation of today? Only when new technology, aka new insights, come along, will it allow us to reflect, just like the reflection of the wavelengths, reflect on ourselves, reflect on that which has come before us. Only with a new paradigm, a new technology, can we address what seems to be relevant today, see through it, read literally between the lines, and actually glean ancient wisdom for our own benefit today. That's the lesson. If you want to read more about how this journey to discovering this content, I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put it here for you. Boom. So you can read that article, and most of you should be able to see that there. Check it out. Learn something new, but really learn the deeper lesson. And the deeper lesson is that read between the lines, and you might find some ancient wisdom. Let's talk about the markets very briefly. In the TradFi markets, the traditional finance markets, the Dow is up by about 0.03%, which is about break even at 31,133. This is nearly break even of where we were at last week when I mentioned the markets last week. The S&P 500 is up 0.02% at 3,764. Again, break even. The NASDAQ is down 0.11% at 11,346. Again, this is like a break-even week, and I know we're talking about woe is me and we're in a recession, and we very well might already be in a recession, though everyone says we can't avoid one. Well, we're already in one. A lot of the influencers, a lot of the financial advisors that I follow believe we're already in a recession. So, and is it getting a lot worse? Well, the last few weeks have kind of been flat. That's why I report these numbers to you, to inoculate you so that you're not afraid of the news headlines that go, the sky is falling. It might, but we shouldn't worry about that. We should pay attention to the data. And the data shows that the market's been flat the last few weeks. And in DeFi, Bitcoin up 1.05% at 19,390. Last week, it was just within a few hundred points of that. That's nearly break even. Ethereum up 2.77% at 1,346. Break even, relatively speaking, over last week when I reported. ADA Cardano up 3.21% at 36 cents. Break even as of last week. And XRP Ripple down 0.66% at 45 cents. Break even from last week. We've had a very flat week. And though each day it kind of goes like this, and all the articles and headlines go, oh my God, things are going nuts. It's been relatively flat, relatively calm. Let's talk about a tree for every person. In Italy, a project called Project Forestami is going on in the metro area of Milan, Italy. You see, metro areas make up about 75% of all carbon emissions on the planet, and it's nuts. And that happens to be where we also have the most amount of asphalt? Well, in Milan and surrounding areas, there's a project going on called Forestami where they are planting a tree for every citizen. This makes up roughly 3 million trees is the goal. They've already planted a few 100,000, which is awesome. And it's a reforestation attempt within the metro area. They're not planting it off in the woods where there are already trees. They're planting it in the middle of the city. Now, this does several things. It helps several things internally and externally. But first, it helps things externally. More green spaces. We just saw this weekend, Marissa and I visited Bonnet Springs Park. And in Bonnet Springs, we were very impressed that a good portion of the parking spots were actually not asphalt. The parking spots themselves were actually grass, which is phenomenal. It's a little less asphalt proportionate to the roads themselves. So we thought that was really great. It's also absorbing carbon dioxide, which most of us know. The trees also help capture microparticles, which is different than absorbing carbon dioxide. It also provides cooling. Whenever you have a large chunk of trees, the temperature is usually degrees cooler than asphalt, which radiates, captures heat, and radiates heat throughout the night. So it provides shading and cooling, captures microparticles. Those are great external benefits. The internal benefits, though. As citizens see more trees, Marissa and I were devastated. We had several very large, beautiful live oak trees in the downtown Lakeland area, and they cut them back and put in new saplings, and the saplings have grown to full height, which isn't even a third of the height and not even a tenth of the canopy that the original oak trees had. And it was a little devastating, and we could feel the difference when we visited that area. We don't like visiting that area as much. When you have these external benefits, the internal benefits come right on their heels. There's usually when there's more green spaces, there's more mental health. You clear the air, people feel better, they take their dogs out more, they sit outside more under the shade of trees. So you have the internal and the external benefits, which are huge. Now, what's the point? If you can identify a problem and stop at a problem, you're just a negative Nancy. If you identify a problem and bring forth a solution, actually share a clear vision, good can not only happen in the world, but it actually rolls back and pushes back the negative. And in pushing back the negative, it not only has benefits in the external world, but the internal world. That's why we report on this article. If you want to read more about Project Forestami, let me copy that right here. Boom, paste that right here. Boom. You have that in your feed. You have that in the comments below. Check that article out and consider for yourself. If there's, 4 people in your home, why not consider planting 4 trees? Act on your own Project Forestami. There's 4 people that live in this house. We have 2 renters, Marissa and myself. Why not plant 4 trees on the property and commit to not only holding back some of the negative environmental things going on, but also take an advancement against it, move forward and creating cooler areas, absorbing more carbon dioxide, but also just feeding ourselves with mental health. That's your good news today. Let's talk about the cause of global depression and how we, at State of the Spark, fight back. We can all agree that there seems to be a heaviness in the world. If you just look around, there's a lot of people. If you listen to the mainstream media, if you listen to people, you hear them talk a lot about what's wrong in the world. Now, that's nothing new. That's been going on for a long time. But with social media, it's radically accelerated, and we feel like we're awash, we're overwhelmed, we're caught in a tsunami of negative news. And in an act of survival, if someone considers themselves a realist, they're starting to get dragged into going beyond realism into negativism. And now, as we fight back against anyone saying anything positive by labeling it toxic positivity, we actually get stuck in a downward spiral where nearly everyone, if they're not in depression, they're not speaking up with positivity. So there's very little positive news coming out. This is why we report other news, because there's other good news out there going on. And I hope you check in for other news because we can report on that which is good in the world. But this malaise and this depression, I believe, is leading to what I would consider the second great pandemic of the 2000s or the 2010s, 2020s. And that is the pandemic of depression that's almost like a stagnation or a stagflation where it's becoming stuck. We're becoming, as a society, stuck in our negative story loops, where not only are people dealing with depression, which has happened before, but in, say, for example, the Great Depression, you had a major resurgence of religions. And in religions, though, there's a lot of legalism and a lot of negativity. There is a lot of hopefulness, albeit a hopefulness for life after death, but it was a ray of hope. And today, when we are a largely atheistic society, and a largely science driven society and a largely woke society, we actually talk against people being positive much at all. Even for those hustling and grinding, those entrepreneurs I often coach and speak to, they seem to be under a great weight of society and don't know if they should speak up, don't know if they should say positive things, don't know if they should encourage people. Let me take a time out and encourage you. You can do this thing. Life is not as bad as it seems. In fact, I have a word for it, and it's called black dot on a white wall syndrome. If you go into a fancy modern art studio, you might see a lot of art, and it's obvious what is art. I remember visiting one art studio, and there was a wall and there was a black dot, and everyone focused on the black dot. And there was a little placard right next to this black dot, and it said, all you saw was the black dot, but what about the white wall? What if the wall is the art? Black dot on a white wall syndrome. And it just was meant to point out in a sublimely simple way are what we call negativity bias. And most humans are wired for negativity bias. Things that are off kilter, we look for the problem. That's what we do as an animal species. That's how we got off the savannah. We actually looked at, is the rustling in the bushes a saber-toothed tiger? And we took precaution. But there are no saber-toothed tigers anymore. There are no T-Rexes. And for most of the people on the planet, aside from those living on less than $1 a day and those who are living at the edge of viability, there's a lot of people out there who are displaced, and I don't want to demean them. But much of the world is not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and there aren't threats. There aren't threats to life and limb. There's only survivability threats, and we need to address those. So we don't need negativity bias as much, but we have it pervading everywhere. You see, in the last year, I've tracked about, I say since January, it's October now, if you're listening to this in another era. In the last year, in the last 10 months, I can track about 6 different projects that I have begun with other partners. Now, there's been other projects that I myself have started and let go. There's been other projects that I have still going with partners. But there's been about 6 different projects of my own that have not gotten off the ground that I've done with other partners. What's the main problem? And how does it correlate to the main problem of global depression? The main problem is I've tracked down with these 6 projects that haven't gotten off the floor and that we're either actively cutting or just we're letting fade into the background. The main problem, hear me on this, is lack of vision. Oh, I can hear the groan from people out there. I'm so sick of hearing this from Grant. Too bad. This is one of those things that I believe is ancient wisdom, not my own, but ancient wisdom that I have grabbed onto, that whenever I solve for this, I tend to solve malaise, I tend to solve depression, I tend to solve procrastination, and I start to see very real results again in my life. The main problem with these 6 projects, tracked down, is lack of a clear vision. How do I mean? As I have sought to partner better with other people, I have sought to be more collaborative and less intense. In fact, the number one critique I get in my life from those closest to me is, Grant, you're too intense. The top critique I get is, could you calm down? Don't be so loud. Hush your voice, or some variant of this. Or when I speak up, there's a sigh or a cringe. Or if I say something like it's lack of clear vision, the response is to the effect of, I'm so sick of hearing about goals and vision. And there's good reasons for them to say this in their own mind. I'm not going to diminish that. But that doesn't let us off the hook from the very important action of reminding ourselves about vision. Now, if wissen is the root of wisdom, it's a Germanic root, means what we can know for certain about our past. Vision comes from the Germanic root wissen, which means what we can know for certain about our future. It's goals. Vision is very clear goals. So in an effort to try to be more collaborative, try to take this critique over the last 10 months and more, to try to be more collaborative and not lead as strong, not be as vocal, not be as loud about vision. And in so doing, I've tried to allow others to lead. Those people I'm partnering with, I'm trying to get them to take initiative. So I back off on goal setting and vision casting too much, and I've allowed them to guide or lead us. And honestly, they haven't done it so much. What I find is most people are ambling through with no real vision and therefore no real plan. I find people ambling at the grocery store. Yesterday, Marissa and I went to a park. There was a brand new, gorgeous park launched here just about half a mile from our house. We walked over, we got there, and there's so much to see. It's very hot in the day, so I'm striding and trying to go somewhere with a very clear vision. What's the first place? Trying to go to the Welcome Center. What's the second place? Trying to go to the promenade. What's the third place? Trying to go see the actual spring itself. It's a gorgeous little area of springs. There's a very narrow sidewalk and people are ambling. What they call Sunday driving, I would call Sunday walking. What I find as I look around, whether it's these 6 projects I'm working on or at the grocery store or at the gym, I used to work out with a gentleman who used to join me at the gym, and you should watch him amble from his car with very little purpose to the gym. Don't you have a very clear vision and a very clear plan? Wouldn't that bring a strong pep in your step? Wouldn't that bring an energy and a purpose to where you're trying to go? For example, this morning, I know the gym doesn't open until 4 a.m. I got there at a quarter till just in case they open the doors early. Why? Because I have a very clear plan on what I'm doing at the gym and a clear plan for coming here and doing the show this morning. So I need to hustle because I have a clear vision of what I am trying to do and I have a plan to do it. And guess what? I did it because I was the only one I was relying on. And in these partnerships, this is why people tend to not partner. Now, I'm not saying don't partner. I'm saying we have to become better at partnering, both in vision and in action. And so this year has been about me trying to learn how to be a better partner. So I've been experimenting with not leading with vision, backing off, trying to calm down, trying to give people smaller bite-sized chunks, trying not to overwhelm people with a sense of vision. But what I have found is the more I back off of leadership, other people aren't stepping into leadership and vision. And therefore, I believe my projects have largely waned for lack of vision. There's an ancient scripture talking about ancient scriptures. If you heard the news article earlier today that says without vision, the people perish. Now there's another translation to the scripture. The other translation to the scripture is without vision, the people cast off restraint. What happens when people cast off restraint? When people cast off restraint, they lose vision. And restraint just simply means self-discipline. Discipline is good. Boundaries are good. We believe in freedom. We believe in financial freedom, location freedom, time freedom. We believe in all sorts of freedom. But to get there, we create self-imposed restraints, not others-imposed restraints. For example, we budget. We don't buy everything we want. We cast on restraint. We exercise discipline because we have a clear vision. But when we don't have a clear vision, for example, Marissa and I got back from Tacoma, Washington, and we did not have a very clear vision for what we were doing. So we were going out to dinner, having expensive dinners and kind of blowing our entire budget and even dipping into our credit card a little bit, which is kind of unheard of for us, just to enjoy things a little bit. We had no clear vision. It wasn't until Marissa and I aligned on vision that we started eating at home more, planning our meals more, getting to the gym more. And it feels like we're limited in a few ways, but we're enjoying our home space because we started working on a project in the backyard. We're enjoying our fitness and health, and we're taking solace and comfort that our goals have moved forward. We paid down an entire credit card in one pay cycle because we cast on restraint, reverse engineer that. We expressed vision. If without vision, the people cast off restraint, with it, meaning the people perish, then with vision, people exercise restraint, which means they thrive. I have found with my 6 projects over the last year that as we have no clear definitive vision, or at least no one harping on vision, when people hear visionary leadership, they think of a very corporate hierarchical structure. And that's sad because that's not the in thing. And it's very in to critique hierarchical leadership or any power constructs at all whatsoever. Power is bad. We're in a season of degrading or talking down or using moral authority to try to convince people around us to not exercise some sort of hierarchical power structure. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. You can at least have someone designated to roles. And someone having the role of visionary leader should be valued and protected. And the people who are then tasked with creating plans and actions should then be handed off that role. And then they should have the authority. And you don't need a top-down hierarchical structure to act on vision. So in major areas I have had the most progress and success are the areas that I have exhibited the clearest amount of vision and the clearest amount of plans. I am in charge of the goal and action alone. I'm in charge of having a clear vision and the desired outcome. I have the plan of action. I've executed it now for almost 30 weeks, and I have another 12 weeks to go. And that's in the area of fitness and health. And for a reminder for those for the TLE, the total life experience, when you feel lost, start with fitness and health because it's the easiest thing for you to act on today, get massive clarity of vision, massive clarity of goals. And then as you start acting on it, you start to feel better and it pulls you out of a depressed state. Fitness and health. As soon as Marissa started walking around our lake for her lunch break, she started to exhibit a higher sense of energy. She started to exhibit a higher sense of hopefulness. Now, grant that's a false correlation. I don't know, but it is a correlation. Is it a cause? No, there's a lot of other things going on that contribute to Marissa feeling a higher energy level and feeling more positive about her life. But mainly, the easiest one to track down is the fitness and health and her walking around the lake. I have done the same thing. There's a direct correlation between lack of clear leadership and ambiguity and depression. Ambiguity obviously leads to wandering. Wandering obviously leads to lowered perseverance, and lowered perseverance obviously compounds societal malaise. Long story short, the pandemic rocked a lot of people's goals. And the second pandemic followed because they weren't recreating any goals because they didn't have a lot of hope. Hope isn't given to you, hope is engineered internally. And hope is engineered internally by first and foremost setting a clear vision, setting clear goals, and taking massive action. So, how do we solve for this? I'll be real quick and I'll let you go about your day. If you already do have a clear vision, but it's just been weakened, let me encourage you, lead with it. Those closest to you will tell you to, oh, don't be so loud, and they'll express frustration. I'm going to encourage you to abashedly, loudly, and clearly share your vision. Return to being a loudmouth for a goal and vision. Don't be mean, be kind, be encouraging, be empathetic, don't be toxic, but share it nonetheless. Hey, I love you. This is what I'm doing. Hey, remember when you asked me what I was doing? This is still what I'm doing. Hey, remember when you asked me to go out partying and drinking last night? I'm still getting up at 3:30 so I can be at the gym by 4. I'm still doing that. Here's my vision. I want to be fit. I want to be trim. I want to work on my content. I want to work on my courses. I want to work on my side business. I want to break out of my job. I want to quit my job in 6 months or whatever your goal is. I want to travel the world. Hey, I'm putting money away. Sorry, I can't go out. I'm putting money away because I want to travel to Iceland or Europe next year. I want to visit Machu Picchu. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Sow the vision with kindness. So if you do have a clear vision, lead with it loudly. Dust off your old journals. Remind yourself of the goals. Set clear plans to achieve it. Not plans to do it, plans to achieve it. What are the micro habits that you need to do to realign, to achieve it? Yes, we can set plans on having the outcome. That's very visceral, visionary imagination. We need to actually revisit detailed imagination to remind ourselves of the benefit we're seeking. But then the plans you make need to be plans on how to achieve it. Then write them on a note card every day, and then write your top golden capstone goal at the top. So Mary Kay used to have a goal, write your top 5 things on a note card. I've got my note cards right here, blank and ready for me to fill out. I fill these out every day of the top 5 things I need to do, and the most important one goes at the top. And I do not end the day if I have not at minimum done the top one, and I try not to end the day if I haven't at least done the top 5. That gives you a sense of priority every single day. Grant, that gets redundant. I know. That's why it's called a habit. You only get somewhere because of habits. Goals are a fruit you work on. Habits are the root you do every day. Now, that's if you do have a clear vision. If you have found yourself without a clear vision for yourself, here's a few simple things. I have built all of this and put it in front of you. Number 1, get my simple course, the 7-day homework, which is to reacclimate you to goal setting, but also goal pursuing mindset. Like a lot of you don't even know how to write a goal. That's what the 7-day homework is for. Go to stateofthespark.com, pull up the course. It's ready for you. There's little milestones. There's 7 days of work for you to do, and it reminds you and gets you in the habit of goal setting. Go get that course. Then get my book, The Top 100 Dream Igniter. I got a copy somewhere on my shelf, The Top 100 Dream Igniter. Go buy the book. It's my entire download system on how, as Mr. ADHD, I can download my goals and dreams, turn it into a course, a planned course of action, and then act on it every single day. It actually walks through those steps with several metaphors, and it's like a workbook. It's a workbook. There they are right there. Right there. Those 2 copies in the yellow binder or the yellow book bind. Those are the books. Go to igniteyourdreams.today. Go buy the book, get a copy, work through it, and tell me if you did. Then start with a goal in the area of health and fitness. If you do not have a vision, get the course, get my book, or at minimum, start with a fitness goal and stick with it. Start with a fitness goal, and you will watch yourself climb out of depression. Put a plan of action down and then share it out loud. If someone says, hey, how's your day? Great, I'm working towards my goal is the answer. If someone asks you, how's your day? Don't just pass right over. That's an opportunity for you to share your goal and not only share it with them, but to remind your conscious mind. Say it out loud. Who is this? I just see Facebook user. Who is this? Where are you at? Say it loud, brother. You've got to say your goals out loud so that your eardrums hear it and it creates a feedback loop that, oh, this is what I'm working on, because the day is so easy to get away from you because headlines are so loud to pull you away. Negativism, toxic negativism. If there is toxic positivity, let's say there is, then there is definitely toxic negativity. People around you trying to protect you, people around you trying to protect themselves will try to actually dull you or mute you. Say your goals out loud. Don't be obnoxious. It's just when people ask, how's your day? You simply say, oh, good morning. How you doing? I still got to contact your husband this week. We weren't able to meet up late last week, though we talked. We'll meet up this week. You've got to say your goals out loud for your own ears and for the world around you. And like those trees in Milan that I mentioned in other news, you become a point of reference that not only makes things a little better, but actually starts rolling back the negativism in the world. You might not be as loud as the black dot on a white wall, but you'll be as firm and as strong and as stood up, as strong, as firm as the wall there that people very rarely see, but see the effect of. When you stand by your goals and you stand for a vision, a very clear vision, people can rally around that. And I encourage you, if you find that people are not yet drawn to your vision, if you find that people aren't yet coming up to you throughout the week and saying, hey, how can I help? Your vision isn't clear enough. If you don't have the negative people in your life being like, hey, I think you talk about this thing too much. If they're not saying that to you, you have not yet been loud enough or consistent enough in your vision. No, don't be obnoxious. Be kind, be empathetic, but be firm in the sharing of this goals. In fact, I think Miguel Ojeda is really focused right now on a mission statement. A lot of his content in his YouTube channel are about mission statements. I'm there in any form that you can. If you're sick of mission statements, then write a goal statement. If you're sick of goal statements, write your top 5 on a note card. It doesn't matter. I have a whole goal poster, which I'll share back up. Maybe this week I'll actually revisit the quarterly alignment. Get this stuff on your calendar. Make a date with yourself and your significant other on the calendar that daily, weekly, and quarterly, monthly and quarterly, you just say out loud what your goals are so that you remind yourselves of why we're taking the actions we're taking. And it's not only the direct benefit. Sometimes goals can frustrate people because they don't achieve the big goals. And they get frustrated like goals don't work. That's not true, and it's a mistaken conclusion. It's a comforting conclusion. It puts them at ease. Well, I didn't work hard enough. Oh, I don't want to think that. Or I didn't buckle down tight enough. No, I didn't do that. It's just that goals don't work. It's a very comforting conclusion. I understand why people say it. But remember, goals aren't just about obtaining the outcome. It's who you become in the process. It's the integrity with which you operate in the world. It's the consistency with which you give other people. It's the stability that you give your kids or your partner or your employees or your coworkers. When you say, I'm a fixed point in the universe for this one thing. And for those who don't know, I'm a fixed point in the universe for State of the Spark. No matter where you go, if you feel lost on your own, now maybe you've got your own brand. I know Miguel and Jessica all have their own goals. Their brand's not going to be State of the Spark, but if you ever feel lost, you know that I am a fixed point in the universe, that I am somewhere out there working on my fitness and health, working on my healthy, happy relationships, working on work that I'm passionate about, that touches my art, that touches my output, that touches my income. And then spirituality, I am cultivating myself and honing myself in. And then, yes, I have big goals along the way. I'm building $1 million business. We're building $1 million real estate empire. We're building financial freedom. We travel the world. We travel the world. We own property in international locations. We have friends in international locations. I've got my dream board right here. I'm the largest employer wherever I go. Have I achieved all of these? Nope. Am I still pursuing them? Yep. Do I like who I'm becoming in the process? 100%. I'm getting better and better every single day. I'll leave you with this. Brian Tracy said this. He said, success, what he didn't say is success is the achievement of big things, of being Elon Musk or traveling to the moon or Mars. He said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If you do not wake up with a worthy ideal in your mind, or if you do not wake up with the mechanism to remind yourself of the worthy ideal you're moving towards, I would challenge you, are you experiencing success? Success is not a finish line that you cross. Success is the jog every step of the way. Success is not the gold cup, the platinum cup, the bronze cup, or any cup. Success is when the gun goes off, you step across the starting line. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. But no matter what you do today, I hope you set goals. I hope you set big goals. I hope you remind yourself of a passion that you have inside of you. And I hope that that shakes off the cobwebs of depression. And I hope that the real net result is that the people you touch get inspired to set their own goals, even small ones. You know, you were talking about, in the Ojeda's example, you were talking about sustainable living. I decided to actually do a water catchment system on my house. That's a good sign. My hope that as you shed the cobwebs of depression in your own life, in every corner of your life, and it burns away, my hope is that that affects your community and the people around you. But no matter what you do today, remember what the real mission is: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.